welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the combination of R2-R3 release webinar. We skipped one 3 months ago because there was a really nice webinar that was created by the product owner team to discuss the 4021, to answer your questions for the 4021 LTS release. And yeah, we hope that we can do these two releases justice in one webinar. So throughout the webinar, we'll explore the latest capabilities introduced across both releases and show you how you can deliver smarter, more efficient, and better applications. So joining us virtually is the whole product owner team, who work hand in hand with the engineering team to define, spec, and ensure all the features are for purpose and needed in the product. And you'll hear from them going on as they'll be presenting some really cool demos that they've made of the features. So let's take a look at today's agenda. First, we'll begin with AI for 4D. We'll explore the latest AI-related additions into 4D, and then we'll move on to development issues or development features, and cover the latest enhancements for you guys, the developers. Now, let's start with a really interesting concept that Fabrice is going to show us about, which is AI file context and model aliases that we're adding to 4D. But today, users expect applications to do much more than simply store and display data. They expect intelligent features capable of understanding documents, extracting information, and answering questions instantly and on the fly. With 4D AI Kit, integrating these AI-powered capabilities in your application has become incredibly simple. In this example that Fabrice is going to show, he'll show how you can upload a PDF file to OpenAI from within 4D, have AI analyze its content, and show how the user can then ask questions about the files uploaded directly, all from a 4D application. And also, what's really interesting is he'll show you how he's doing this using the new model aliases feature that was developed in 4D R2 or R3, which allows you to completely separate the AI configuration from your business logic, making your applications easier and to maintain over time. So let's look.
The first thing we're going to do before using 4D AI Kit is register in 4D the AI provider and the model we'll use to upload and analyze our PDF. I open the setting and go in the AI tab. I create an OpenAI provider. I select OpenAI from the list and I enter my API key and then test the connection. I can see that it works. Next, I'm going to create a model alias that points to a specific OpenAI model. I create a new model alias called OpenAI model. I select my provider and I can see the one I just created. Finally, I choose the model I want to use. Here, we automatically get the list of all models available from OpenAI. I'm going to select GPT 5.4 Mini. Now I save the configuration. Next, we'll look at the code that uploads the PDF file and creates a chat where we can ask questions about that file. But before that, the first thing to do is make sure that 4D AI Kit is properly installed. To do that, we go to Project Dependencies. If it isn't installed, as shown here, we go to GitHub, select AI Kit, and install it. Then we restart the application, and 4D AI Kit is installed. Now we can look at the code and update it with the AI provider and model alias we just created. Here we need the provider name. We go in the setting and copy our provider name and paste it here. Then in the chat section, we need not only the provider but also the model. What's great about this approach is that we no longer need to specify the provider directly here. We simply provide the model alias and 4D automatically retrieves the appropriate provider information to connect to OpenAI. That's all that there is to do. We are ready to run the application. For the rest of the code, we'll go through it step by step as it executes. I launch the application. Here I specified the path to the file I'm going to upload to the OpenAI server. This is the file. It contains information about me. We're going to send this PDF to OpenAI and then ask it to analyze the document and generate a summary. First, we upload it to the server. On the first line, we instantiate the OpenAI class and pass it the OpenAI provider we created earlier. To upload the file, I provide its file path. I also add parameter specifying that OpenAI should keep the file for a maximum of 1 hour. I execute the line. The success status is true, which means the upload completed successfully. Here, I retrieve the file information returned by OpenAI. OpenAI sends back an object containing details about uploaded file, including its ID, which we'll use later during conversation to tell OpenAI which file we want it to read. Now that the file has been uploaded, I can ask the question I want to send to OpenAI. In this example, I want to know which product is discussed in the uploaded file. I submit the request. Here, I create another OpenAI object. This time, I don't provide a provider because the provider information is already included in the model alias. I create the object. Then I define my initial prompt and explain to OpenAI the role it should play during this conversation. In this case, it will act as an assistant specialist in file analysis. It must return its answer in text format and in English. Here, I initialize the chat with the prompt I just created. Next, I create an OpenAI message object containing both the question I wrote in the chat and the file ID obtained during the upload process. I then send this message, which includes the prompt and the file ID, to the AI server and wait for a response. Here, I receive a success status of true, allowing me to display the text returned by OpenAI. As we can see, OpenAI answered the question and provided a list of all the products mentioned in the PDF document. And that's it. In just a few lines of code, we've uploaded a PDF file to OpenAI, had it analyzed automatically, and displayed a structured summary directly within our 4D application. What's particularly interesting here is that the AI configuration is completely separated from the business logic thanks to providers and model aliases. Thank you.
Now that we've seen how AI, so that was a really cool demo in my opinion. That's how we've been using Claude a lot internally in 4D, where we uploaded a file, check it out, ask questions about the file. It's a really great new way to add things and to do it simply within 4D. So, and now with 21R2, you can now sort ORDA queries, your ORDA query results by vector similarity. So matching records are automatically ranked by semantic relevance. And what's nice with this is that it works alongside the traditional ORDA filters. You can combine vector ordering with your existing business criteria in the same query. The same capability is available in both ORDA and REST, making it easy to build intelligent search, recommendations, and other AI-powered experiences where the most relevant results naturally rise to the top. And now I want to show you something else that solves one of the biggest pain points when building with AI, and that's unpredictability. Matthew will explore a key role that JSON schemas play in getting reliable and structured responses from AI models, all powered with a new feature in 20R3. Take it away, Matthew.
In this demonstration, I will illustrate a recent blog post by Vanessa about how to make AI predictable and the key role played by JSON schemas. So, within 4D21R3, we updated the JSON validate command to be able to take into account the JSON schema draft 2020-12, and this will allow you to validate much richer JSONs than before, notably with dates or with much more elaborate syntax. And this is where it gets interesting when you're working with AI. You will be able to, and it's very well explained in Vanessa's post, will be able to interact much better with artificial intelligence models. So I'm going to show you this thanks to this demo application. So it's an application that serves an international event management company. This company organizes events for its clients, and those events are in locations that are all over the world. These locations can be theaters, amphitheaters, park, castles, and so on. And they can be either indoors or outdoors. You see that here. And for each event, the company will package meal services, services for communication, entertainment, furnishing, and so on and so on. Okay, we'll find this event here by client, and in the demo you will find approximately 250 of them, and each event is planned with a certain weather in mind. We've planned, for example, this event indoors, so the weather does not have an effect. But for example, this other event was planned with sunny skies ahead, and this one with sunny and hot temperatures. That's why we have air conditioning inside. All right. First, we see here in this column that on certain event, my client can reach out to me and ask for modification. That's one first event that can happen on such planned event. The second thing that can happen there, I'm going to refresh the weather with a pretty standard weather API, and I can receive here weather alerts. So there's no artificial intelligence yet in here. I'm just comparing the weather that was expected when we contracted the event with the forecast. So for this one, when I contracted the event, I expected a sunny day and hot temperature, and finally it will rain. So I need to open it, and I see the list of services contracted. I see the budget for this event, 34,000 euros, and I run my AI advisor that will propose me two actions here, two possible actions for this event after analyzing the services and the weather. These two actions, in fact, the AI returned them to me in JSON format, and I validated them with a schema. The key point here is that I will be able to confirm, to make sure that the model responds to me properly, so that I can, in my application, present this UI here correctly to the end user. Okay, so we will go further on and execute one of these actions. But before, let me grab the log file so that you can see what's going to happen in there. Okay, so We are going to replace it management services with rain ready services. Let's click. So what we can see here is that the AI will analyze the services that are packed, and you see here it's starting to query by itself our services catalog. And in a few seconds, it will propose me a set of services that are recommended for this action. That's it. So you see that it was kind of clever. It removes mobile air conditioning unit and some heater, and instead it proposes to add some new services to this event. So the good thing for me is that the balance, the cost balance, is positive. So in addition to anticipating things so that this event goes smoothly, I will get more revenue if this quote is accepted by my customer. So it's the moment to draft an email for him. So I use AI as well. And I will draft an email explaining the change, explaining that the forecast change. Do you accept this? Okay, I confirm this. And the AI automatically reassesses the event to ensure that no more residual actions could be necessary because of the forecast. So this list here will evolve until my event is safe weather-wise. And once again, the AI is querying my service catalog. So it does this by tool calling. I already talked about tool calling in several previous webinars, so we're not going to go back to it. In any case, here it queries my service catalog and looks for appropriate services based on the action being requested here. Okay, the impact is calculated. It consists in adding waterproofing and some heated flooring. So I'm free to accept or reject these impact, but it's also an additional revenue for me as a company. So that's great. And those two actions were proposed to me from AI through some JSON that I validate with the JSON schema. Let's open another event. We won't analyze weather this time, but we'll analyze an incoming email from the customer that requests an update on the meals. So I analyze this email, and directly here the AI knows that there's an update in the catering that should be made. So I press the action. Once again, AI will search my services repository, my services catalog. Let's check the logs here. Oh, it's already responded. All right, here, just this simple change. Once again, it's JSON that I validate with this schema. And this change, well, that's great. It's more revenue for me, and it was no effort for me. So I can directly draft the email with AI as like this, send the quote to my customer, and if he's okay, I confirm that. Okay, we can continue with maybe some last example here. This is an interesting example because here this venue has an indoor option. So it's an outdoor event, but in here I know that we have an indoor option. So here AI knows this. It also knows that there's an indoor option in there, and it knows that rain is expected instead of fair weather. So instead of just proposing to add new services for rain protection, it will also propose me to switch to an indoor event, to switch to the indoor reception hall here. And it's a rather complex operation because you have to remove the outdoor option, but you have also to remove the outdoor specific services. And starting from there, you're starting to lose revenue, to reduce the budget you have for this event. So here I specifically adjusted the prompt to ask AI to add services back to compensate the loss of revenue with some indoor specific services. And this is what we have here. So AI removes here the outdoor venue rental. It removes also several outdoor specific services, but instead it proposes me some relevant indoor services to compensate. And I also instructed it to be a little bit more, to always give me a little bit more, 10%, 20% more than the previous quote. So that's great. I can draft my email and propose to the customer these new options here. So I anticipate a weather change. Okay, dear customer, it will rain. This is how I propose you to transform your event to ensure that you will get a good experience with us. I chose this example to show you how with workflow automation and AI, you can better serve your customers and also at the same time get more revenue out of it. It's just a simple example. You could apply the same mechanism to error detection in invoicing, for example, or other business improvement use cases. Here, what you saw is, let's say, manual. I press buttons, I react, I analyze. But you can perfectly imagine that this kind of agents can run in the background, and when your end user they arrive in the morning at their desk, there's a whole list of proposed actions just to validate, to cancel or to refuse or draft an email. This kind of process can drastically improve your productivity and the productivity of your customers. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a really interesting demo and a interesting way to use JSON for the and AI to help do a lot of background tasks and make sure everything is working both in an automated way and with human intervention way. So super cool. Any questions about AI? Anybody using AI Kit right now? We're using it quite heavily internally. We're loving it. We have some projects ongoing, but anybody, yeah, let us know. What's going for you? And if things do come up, or you do have questions about AI, the 40 AI Kit, or anything that you have on the 21 R2 and R3, please let us know in the Q&A, and we can get to that going forward. Oh, we have one. So someone asked, will this example be an HDI example? I believe all the examples will be on GitHub. If they're not already up there on the 40's GitHub.
Essentially, all of our demos that we're presenting here will be available through GitHub.
Oh, so Angel said he's using HTTP requests since it has more features. Okay, interesting. Yeah, more control maybe. That makes sense. I hear you. Interesting. So, yeah, sound off in the comments or in the Q&A if you have any questions that come up, and we'll keep it rolling. So now on to, let's say, development news. Since its inception, 40 has evolved alongside the visual evolution of operating systems. With every new generation of macOS and Windows, the goal remains the same: enabling 40 applications to stay modern and fully consistent with the system, without requiring a redesign of your interfaces or forms. And with 21R3, the evolution continues, particularly with support for a liquid glass on macOS Tahoe, while also extending the work already started on Fluent UI on Windows. Now, here's a great demo provided by Vanessa to illustrate how transformative this will be for your desktop applications.
During this demo, I'm going to display the exact same application side by side. And in just a few minutes, we look at three things: support for liquid glass on macOS Tahoe, printing of modern interface, and finally, the modernization of the component library. Let's start with Liquid Glass. I'm opening the application with 4G21. And now I'm launching the exact same application, but this time with 4G21R3. And what is really interesting here is that I didn't rebuild anything, I didn't redesign the forms, I didn't add any specific code, I didn't create a new theme, and yet, look at the rendering. Standard controls automatically follow the system style. You can see the new button style with very rounded border here in this warning dialog box. And also here in the toolbar. Drop-down list, checkbox, all controls automatically adopt the system's new look. And from a development perspective, this is extremely comfortable, because 4G automatically follows the visual evolution of the operating system. This avoids major UI redesign phases every time the OS changes. And for users, the difference is immediately visible. The application feels more native, more consistent with macOS, and more pleasant to use. Now let's move on to printing. For printing documents, reports, or invoices, we obviously recommend using 4G Pro. But sometimes you simply want to print exactly what you see on screen. And this is precisely where modern interfaces created with Fluent UI on Windows and Liquid Glass on macOS can become both a technical and visual challenge. They look beautiful on screen, but they are not always ideal for paper's output. 4G21R3 introduced a new rendering engine for printing. I'm going to launch a print preview with 4G21, and here we get a rendering that is very close to what we see on screen, sometimes with a result that is less readable on paper, especially because of shadows or gradients. Now I launch the print preview with 4G21R3. On screen, we keep the native modern rendering, but for printing, the rendering becomes more contrasted and easier to read on paper, while still preserving important color whenever they were explicitly defined. And in the end, this brings three very concrete benefits. First, clearer printout immediately. Second, more consistent result between macOS and Windows, and most importantly, no changes are required in your existing printing system. So you can modernize the user interface without sacrificing the quality of printed documents. Last point, the object library. I'm going to open the form editor. Here I simply using object from the library. With 4G21R3, this object has been modernized so they display correctly with Fluent UI on Windows and Liquid Glass on macOS. So as soon as you start building a screen, you already begin with components that are consistent with modern visual standards. And this is not only cosmetic, the components have been modernized internally to follow recent 4G standards. The result is cleaner code, more readable code, and code that is easier to maintain and evolve over time. Concretely, for development teams, this means less time spent manually adjusting screen, more reuse, and a more stable foundation for evolving projects. And most important, there is nothing to do. The application automatically adopt the style of the operating system it runs on. To conclude, with 4G21R3, we are modernizing the user experience without requiring a complete redesign on the application. From a development perspective, it reduces UI maintenance work and simplifies future evolutions without questioning the existing application. And from the user's perspective, the application immediately feels more modern, more natural, and better integrated into the system. Ultimately, the objective is very simple: evolve the user experience while protecting existing applications.
And that's, in my opinion, that's a really cool demo, and it's a great example of what 40 gives developers, right? And why your users keep coming back to your applications. In just a few clicks, we saw that a 40 application gets modernized to match the design of the UI's operating system that your users are already using, knowing, and loving, possibly. So let's stay on design for a moment, because design is exactly what earns loyalty, in our opinion. A loyal user is a satisfied user, and satisfaction comes down to one thing: experience. An interface that feels intuitive, clear, and dependable. And you, as the developers, are the people that deliver those. But experience isn't the whole story. Your application has to excel everywhere. In design, yes, but also performance and in security. So this is what 40 Qodly Pro delivers in an application. It's one thing that 40 can deliver. It is why we're making Qodly pages and 40 forms work seamlessly together. You apply the design you choose, and you protect your data against unauthorized access. That's how Marie-Sophie accomplished this with some of the latest features in 4D in 20R3.
Welcome to this demo. In this demo, I am going to show you how to integrate Qodly pages even more easily into your desktop application and explore the opportunities for the Qodly Pro opens up. The demo I am going to run allows users to view products. So the demo is open here on 4D server, and here is the 4D remote client. So I'm going to show you the final demo firstly. So I run it. So I can view product like this in a list box, and I can switch to a mosaic view, and this view is a web area displaying a 4D Qodly Pro page. 4D Qodly Pro gives you much greater flexibility in terms of design. You can quickly and easily implement your chosen UI in a fully WYSIWYG way. So what you see is what you get. Here I have created a grid with a card for each product. 4D Qodly Pro also provides ready-to-use custom components like maps, allowing users to locate a place. And this kind of component is not available natively in 4D, so it will be impossible to achieve a map with only 4D and without 4D Qodly Pro. You can also create responsive designs like this one. And implementing a responsive mosaic layout like this in a native 4D form is very complex without 4D Qodly Pro. So 4D Qodly Pro brings real added value when it comes to UI and design. And in addition, these same 4D Qodly Pro pages can be reused and executed directly in a web browser if later you decide to provide a browser-based access to your application. And for those wondering, you can see here on my 4D server that only one license is being consumed. Now I am going to show you how to implement the web area and the product's Qodly page. In 4D, in the Explorer, in the Forms section, we have a Qodly Pages folder. In this folder, I can easily start creating my 4D Qodly Pro pages with a simple right-click, New Qodly Page. The page name is Products. A browser opens to launch 4D Qodly Pro, and I insert this craft component able to list products. Before starting, I just remove all the paddings like this, and this matrix is bound with the product's Qodly source. So I quickly create this Qodly source on the product's data class. And this Qodly source will contain all the products. I can run a preview inside 4D Qodly Pro, and I can verify that all is OK. If I go back to my 4D Explorer, in the Qodly Pages folder, I have my Qodly Pages. And I can also edit an existing Qodly page like this with a right click if I want to work on my page again. Creating and editing Qodly pages directly from the 4D Explorer is a new feature introduced in 4D 21.03. Now on my 4D form, we are going to create the web area. So I drag and drop the web area. The object name is products page, and I change the size. When I click on the View Product button, I call the View Product functions on the form object. My 4D form is handled by a form class, this products form class. And in this View Product function, when we work with 4D Qodly Pro, we run this function display products in Qodly page, and we are going to implement this function together. I copy paste the code and I explain you step by step. We use the OpenURL command to display the 4D Qodly Pro page in the web area. But before we build the URL, so in the URL we put the server URL prefix, then we put the 4D Qodly Pro rendering engine prefix, and finally we put here the Qodly page name, which is products. We want to leverage the client-server session we have here on the server. We want to leverage it to manage web accesses, and displaying a 4D Qodly Pro page in a web area is a web access. So for this, we add this $4DSID parameter in the URL, and its value is an OTP, a one-time password. And we get this OTP with this create OTP function on the session object. For OTP, you have related blog post with more details. Web and REST accesses, and therefore 4D Qodly Pro accesses, can benefit from protection against unauthorized data access. In Qodly Studio, here in the Roles and Privileges section, I have a View Product privilege. This privilege is required to read the products table, and without this privilege in the session, I can't read the products table. So let's have a first run without handling this View Products privilege. I can display my products in the list box because with client server there is no native permissions system. But if I try to display the products in the web area, it fails because the required privilege view products is not granted. So this is another major advantage of 4D Qodly Pro. Now I am going to uncomment the line and we are going to put this privilege in the session. So to do this, I have a session utilities class. It is a singleton with a set privilege function. This function receives a privilege as parameter and adds it in the session. So the singleton is created here on the client, and then we call this function passing the view products privilege as parameter. But for security reasons, privilege updates must be performed on the server. So thanks to this new server keyword, this is now very simple to do this. This function is always executed on the server thanks to this new keyword. So there is no longer any need for you to create a project method just to execute this kind of code on the server. And this new server keyword is another feature introduced in 4D21 R3. To work with my session, note I use here a session singleton because its instance is shared across all processes of the current session. This is the appropriate class type for this kind of operation. And as you can see, the session singleton here extends the capabilities of the session command. So back to the code here. So we are going to run the final test. So I can view my products here in the list box, and I can also view them here in my 4D Qodly Pro page because I have the required privilege. So as a conclusion, you can see that integrating 4D Qodly Pro pages into your desktop application is straightforward. 4D Qodly Pro provides significant UI and design advantages and a highly modular roles and privileges management system fully centralized at the data access level, helping you protect your data and business functions from unauthorized access. This is something that is not available in traditional client-server applications. So don't wait any longer to start integrating Qodly pages into your applications because 4D Qodly Pro is 4D. Thank you for attending.
Okay, let's see. Well, let's talk about something that has been around quite some times, and the session commands is a way for a particular client to be able to obtain its own information. Now, in the past, there was a use of the session information through the command process info, where you can only execute that information, the command on the server side. Now, in the past, in order to get that information into the client, you probably have to write a wrapper method, launch it on the server, and send back the result as the response. With the new ability now in the command session, you can now execute your session command and get an object that stores and contain all the information that you might need on the client directly. For example, on the right side there, there's a little snippet of the information that you'll get from a 4D remote session. You can use the command in any type of environment, whether it's a 4D remote, a web session, standalone, or even on the server side as well. The nice thing about the command is also offer you a storage, which is a shared storage that you can keep the information where you can reuse in a similar fashion in the past as how we used to have inter-process variable. So yeah, so this is a new and improvement of this command. It's not big, but I think it's going to be very helpful for many of you who's trying to gain access to the client information, especially Marie-Sophie just showed to you how you can utilize a session from a client and reuse it in a REST that is being used as part of the order, not order, but in the Qodly page. So yeah, they all kind of work together. So definitely it's going to be very helpful. Okay, so this is the something new in 4D 21 R3 as well. The 4D method, 4D class and method give you an ability to do multiple things that we used to be able to do it in a different context. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background because I've done this myself in many of the projects. Now, at the time, the only way for you to inject or pass in a text base of your code for 4D to execute, it will be in a form of the use of 4D tags. The 4D tag offer many tags that you can use. One of them is 4D code, where you can just put a block of code in there and you can just process the whole thing. The execution of that code will happen within the context of where you are or within the process. Now we give you a more refined of that feature, and I think it gives you even a better control and how you can handle text-based code as well. So I think I'm going to have Damien kind of explain through his demo. And then we come back, and if you have any question, we can go from there. Okay.
Hi everyone. In this demo, I'm going to show you how the new method class in 4D21 R3 allows you to make your deployed applications more adaptable than ever. We'll be using a demo application you probably are familiar with, Invoices. As a reminder, this small application available on GitHub manages billing data. We can view the list of products, customers, and invoices, along with their line items. In this app, I added a dialog to manage and execute 4D code. This dialog was entirely vibe coded using AI. We can type in 4D code, check its syntax to avoid errors, and finally execute it. When I open the application project in VS Code, we can see the code behind the buttons inside the form class. Here you can see a method object being created from the input area, followed by a call to the check syntax function. Then we see the code execution using the call function. Of course, in your own applications, I highly recommend securing access to a dialog like this one to prevent any unauthorized operations. In VS Code, I simply ask Copilot for the required statistic. I want to generate 4D code into a 4DM file placed on the desktop. The code should generate an Excel file containing statistics. I want to list the invoiced products. I want the products that generated the highest margin to appear first. Copilot analyzes the project and generates the code. Alright. I head back to my Invoices application. I open the generated file. I check the syntax. Everything looks good. I run it. Which open Excel with the newly generated file. Looks great. The products are properly sorted by margin. Oh wait, I don't want the tax columns. So I ask Copilot to make that adjustment. I go back to Invoices, open the code, and run it. That's better. Oh, actually, no. My client wants us sorted based on the margin rate, not the overall margin. Let's send another request to Copilot. Okay, the spreadsheet is perfect now. I can send them the file so they can execute it directly on their live production application. The client has requested another spreadsheet, the list of top customers with their annual revenue. Once again, the AI is going to generate the appropriate code for me. I open it in Invoices. Finally, I'm going to ask the AI to give a spreadsheet a nice visual polish. It's not what I expected. I have to give more precision. I open the updated code, run it, open the generated Excel file. Oh, impressive, isn't it? I wanted to show you another cool feature of the method class, debugging, even within a compiled application. I add a trace command and execute the code. Look, the debugger pops up, and I can inspect the execution just like in 4D. This is incredibly useful for fine-tuning your code, and that wraps up this demo for the method class introduced in 4D21 R3. It opens up some exciting possibilities, allowing you, depending on your needs, to modify business rules, patch code, perform data maintenance, or, as we saw here, extract data. And all of this without needing to update the deployed application. Pretty amazing, right? Happy vibe coding!
That's a really cool demo and a fully supported way to inject code into your deployed 40 application. So if you're using the process 40 tags and you're in 21R, we recommend strongly going to this because it'll be much better for you. Now onto 40 Write Pro and its latest additions, simplified multi-level lists. Now over the years, 40 Write Pro has evolved into a powerful document generation and document editing engine that allows developers to create professional documents directly within 40 application. It gives you complete control over both the content and the presentation of your documents. However, up until now, creating numbered hierarchies was quite daunting. So with 21R3, this is no longer the case. You can now create multi-level lists whose hierarchy number, and formatting is now managed directly inside 4D. Let's have a look at the great demo that Majda has prepared to show this.
In this demo, we'll show you step by step how to create, manage, and customize your multi-level lists using 4D Write Pro. We will start with the how do I that you can find in our 4D depot, which is of course available for download. We will begin with a simple numbered list, a simple example to better visualize what happens as we build the hierarchy. Let's see what we have applied to our paragraphs. A style sheet called my numbered list. For now, our list is flat. It has only one level. So let's add a new level by applying our new standard action, list level append. Let's see what has changed. Look, a new style sheet was added, my numbered list level 2. What's special about it is that it is related to the style sheet we have started with, my numbered list. Since we have already created our second level, now we can simply increase the level by applying our new standard action, list level inc. And of course, just like we can increase a level, we can also decrease a level. And for that, we also have a new standard action, list level dec. Once we arrive at the root, we cannot decrease levels anymore. Naturally, we also have the same limitation in the other direction. Once we arrive at the last level, we cannot increase levels anymore. So we have to append a new level to this list again. And therefore, we can increase to the next level again. Now, let's see what style sheets have been created. As you can see, we have 3 levels, and the third level is applied to our current paragraph. The second level is applied to this paragraph, and the root level is applied to this paragraph. Now let's do some customizations, shall we? Let's concatenate the numbering format of the second level with the one of the first level. We're doing that with our new toggle standard action list concat string format. Let's also concatenate the numbering marker of the third level with the second one. Or you know what? I've changed my mind. I'd rather change its format. I'll add parentheses to it, using another new standard action, list number format. And as you can see, if we add other paragraphs, the numbering in the list gets updated automatically. Same thing if we remove paragraphs. These were our new, practical, easy-to-use standard actions for managing multi-level lists. But if you are more on the developer side and you prefer to have total control over what you do, we'll show you how to manage multi-level lists programmatically. These commands you are already familiar with. They have simply been enhanced in order to support multi-level lists. Let's start with WP new style sheet. We have added this parameter that indicates we want 3 levels. Here we get the 3 style sheet objects that represent the 3 levels. We call them level style 1, level style 2, and level style 3. Here we customize each level with specific 4D Write Pro attributes. The font size, the font, the list font, the font bold, etc., just like you would do with any other style sheet. And now we apply to each paragraph the appropriate style sheet of the appropriate level. And here is the end result. So let's export our list to all the supported format by 4D Write Pro, shall we? First we have docx, then PDF, then SVG, and finally HTML. Let's go back to the optional step and delete a style sheet from the hierarchy. We have chosen to delete the third level, and we did that using the existing command wp delete style sheet. Here is the effect of that deletion. One final step before we're done. Let's open what we exported. Here is the docx export. This is the HTML export, the PDF export, and finally the SVG export. As you can see, for all supported formats, the list is exported with all its levels, its indentations, and its styles intact. Well, this is the end of our demo. But before we wrap up, let's take a step back and look at what we've accomplished. In just a few minutes, we've seen how easy it is to create, manage, and customize multi-level lists in 4D Right Pro. We started with a simple flat list, transformed it into a structured hierarchy, customized the numbering formats, and watched the numbering automatically adapt as content was added or removed. We've also seen that this functionality is available from both perspectives, through intuitive standard actions for end users and through powerful commands for developers who need complete programmatic control. Most importantly, multi-level style sheets help solve a very common challenge in document generation: maintaining structure. They can ensure consistency while dramatically reducing manual formatting work. And because multi-level lists are fully preserved when exported, your users can continue working seamlessly with formats such as DocX, PDF, HTML, and SVG. This is another step forward in making 4D Right Pro an even more powerful document generation and document editing solution for your business applications. And we're not stopping here. In future versions, we'll be introducing a dedicated graphical user interface for multi-level style sheets, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to download the How Do I, read the code in your own time, explore the documentation, the blog post, and try the feature in your own projects. We are looking forward to seeing what you'll build with it. Thank you.
It's a really cool demo is to see how to do and all the changes that are happening in 4D Right Pro. So the next improvements are focused on something every developer deals with every day: finding mistakes before they become errors. The 21 R2 and R3 syntax checking is now much smarter and more consistent across the entire development experience. Type inference is fully aligned between 4D Editor, VS Code, and the compiler, so you get the same results everywhere. Error detection is also more precise. Instead of highlighting an entire expression, 4D now pinpoints the exact location, the exact token causing the issue, even inside multi-level expressions. You can simply hover over the highlighted code to see the error instantly. And the command parameters are now validated directly against the documented parameter types while you write. The result is faster feedback, fewer surprises during compilation, and a smoother coding experience from start to finish. So for all of you here, I'd recommend to take your current code base, open it up in R2 or in R3, and see if you do have any of those errors that would have not been caught before with the editor. So. Next, now if your team uses GitLab instead of GitHub, managing reusable components just became much easier. In 21 R3, you can add components directly from GitLab repos, whether they're hosted on gitlab.com or on your own private GitLab server. The experience is very similar to GitHub integration. Simply add the repo from the project dependencies interface, show how you want to manage the version, and let 4D handle the rest. Components are downloaded automatically and become available after a restart, as you saw in the demo from Fabrice earlier, making it easier to share and reuse functionality across projects. And as projects grow and more components are added, finding the right code quickly becomes increasingly important. And with 21 R2, Find a Design has been updated, so now you can search not only in the host project, but also in all accessible components from the host project at once. Search results clearly indicate which component the match comes from, making navigation, troubleshooting, and refactoring much easier. And to make components easier to visually identify, you can now assign a custom icon to your component, either SVG or PGN, in the components resource folder, so it can be pulled in to the application. Now, the next feature brings real-time email awareness directly into your 40 applications. Traditionally, applications had to pull the mailbox every few minutes or however often you did it in order to check for changes, new mail, deleted mail, etc. Now, with the IMAP idle idea, the model changes that model changes completely. Instead of asking the server if something happened, the server notifies the application the moment it happens. You can now react instantly when a new email arrives, when an email is deleted, or when something has been updated or modified, using dedicated event callbacks. The result is a more responsive user experience, less unnecessary network traffic, and a cleaner event-driven approach to email synchronization. And the next enhancement simplifies secure authentication across both Windows and macOS. In 21R3, HTTP requests can now use certificates stored directly in the macOS keychain, complementing existing support for the Windows certificate store. So you can do the same with the Windows certificate store. The best part is that nothing changes in your code. You simply reference the certificate by name using the store certificate name attribute, and 40 automatically retrieves it from the store on your OS. This means no certificate files on disk, no platform-specific logic, and no separate implementations between Windows and macOS. Very cool. So that finishes the development portion. I'm going to check to see if there are any questions in my Zoom. Oh, here it is. Someone did ask a question earlier, and I provided the answer. Someone asked where the specific HDIs are on GitHub, and I provided the, it's under the 40-depot GitHub, and I can actually add this into the chat as well if people are interested in that.
And also, most of our blog posts will have a link that will go directly from that post topic directly to the how do I download as well.
But great question. All right, if anything does come up, please, y'all been quiet today, which is fine, but if anything does come up, do let us know, or let us reach out afterwards, or ask in the blog. So let's keep on going. We can, if anything does come up, please let us know. So the features we covered today are only part of what's included in 21R2 and R3. Some of the other ones include enhancements that we just didn't have time to cover, such as automatic list indentation in 40 Pro, the removal of the legacy network layer with automatic migration to ServerNet and Quick. So that's a big one. So if you're using a legacy network layer and I was using the legacy network layer in V19, for example, and next to it in red says obsolete, don't use it. Well, now in 21R3, it's no longer an option. You're no longer allowed to choose legacy network layer. So it's either ServerNet or Quick. And the latest Spread.js 18.2 version provides a lot of new features to a 40 View Pro as well. And after this webinar, you'll receive a PDF containing all the materials along with the blog posts for every feature release that was discussed. But speaking of the blog, did you notice something different in the past few weeks? I think Basma would like to say a few words about the changes that have been happening on the blog.
Before we wrap up, let's take a quick look at the new 4D blog experience. We've redesigned it to make finding content faster and more intuitive, with featured articles selected by the product team and a new navigation experience organized by product, topic, and learning resources. And here's something I am excited about. Instead of searching with keywords, you can simply describe what you need. Let's try. How can I modernize a legacy 4D application with AI? And there it is. The article is actually called Give AI to a 30 years old 4D application, a title we never searched for. That's the power of AI-driven semantic search. You can also narrow results using categories, tags, and authors. What's even more interesting is that this isn't just a blog feature. It's a practical example of what you can build in your own applications with 4D21, 4D AI Kit, and vectors. We've also added likes, sharing, and we're working on deeper integration with the 4D forum to keep conversations going beyond the article. Take a look after the webinar and let us know what you think.
Thank you very much for attending, everybody. We do have one question, one more question that showed up in the chat. Someone asked, any associated additional costs for using AI Kit? From within 4D, the answer is no. AI Kit is available on 4D GitHub. You can just download it and use it. The only cost would be if you are using a third-party LLM like OpenAI. Any costs would be incurred with them. But you can do what other people are currently doing and use, and we've talked about these on the blog, and you can use local LLMs in the LLM Studio, and you can use what Angel said is you can use 4D AI Kit to hit your local LLMs and not have any token costs or anything if you're running it locally. So the answer is no cost from 4D. So feel free to use it. Is R3 available to bronze partners? When? Anything else from anyone? No, I'd like to say thank you all for joining. There's a lot of work going on, and we'd like to take time and show off what the team has been working on and hear from you. So if anything does come up between the next time we meet, R3 is coming out officially soon. And then we will most likely meet for the next webinar and for the R4 release. All right, thank you all. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week, and enjoy.